Welcome to Will and Mark's Healthy Sports Obsession. I'm Will Hubner here with Mark Mashashik. We are two doctors of physical therapy and we are here to answer your PT questions as well as give our take on current sporting events from a health perspective. As always, send your questions to willandmarkshso@gmail.com and we will answer them on the show. Welcome to another episode. I'm Will Hubner here with Mark Mashashik. Today we're going to be talking about Bradley Beal, contract extension, and kind of the future of the Wizards. We're going to be talking about NFL holdouts and what that means. We're going to go over a Mount Rushmore of the greatest Ravens and Pats, and then the greatest fantasy football team of all time. So Mark, let's get right to it. Bradley Beal gets a contract extension, 3 years, $111 million. Smart or no?
I mean, I think the great Kenny Rogers said, you got to know when to hold them. You got to know when to fold them. I think they're supposed to fold this one, and they're holding hard.
So
I'm saying, how are you investing in Beal when you've got an aging, hurt John Wall? What's the value in investing in him at this point? Why don't I as a person who roots for the Wizards, but also roots for other teams, I was really expecting them to trade Beal, get draft capital, build the team for the future, and I was excited for them to do it. Now I think they're going to be stuck in the middling of the first round, have no draft capital, and be a bad team with a good player on it.
So you got John Wall, who's going to be, he's under contract for the next 4 years, making quite a bit of money. $38 million this year, goes to 41, then 44, then 47. So 2023, I would think John Wall will, the Wizards will not offer him a contract 2023. I think his prime days are over, especially coming off an Achilles injury, a guy who relies so much on speed. We're talking John Wall.
Yeah, we don't even know if we've never seen a player at his point in his career come back at that position and play great from this. So this is risky.
Very risky. And a guy, I mean, they've already signed. They signed John Wall before he tore his Achilles. It's not like a Kevin Durant situation. Right. They kind of they lost it on that.
You got to think, if somebody came, like, I don't know who would be the team to do it. If the Minnesota Timberwolves said, "Hey, we want John Wall. What can we do to take him off your hands?" You don't think the Wizards jump at that opportunity right now?
Yeah, I think that would be an ideal situation.
That's not going to happen, though.
Beal, and then we add Wall.
That's not going to. Nobody wants to do that. That's too much. No one's going to do that. That's crazy. So why are they investing more in Beal if they know it's? I don't know. I don't get this. I don't get the move.
Yeah, I mean, if you had different scenario, right? Like a team to give Bradley Beal an extension, 3 years, $111 million. I don't see that as crazy. I think he's a great player. I think he is a max contract player. I think without John Wall this year, he had a great season, best season of his career so far, and he's still extremely young.
It's an all-star.
So I don't think giving him that kind of money is ridiculous.
No, I don't either.
The problem is coupling that. So now you got a hurt Wall and a great player for the next 5 years. It's almost like you should be rebuilding now, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's. I thought that was the game. You go for the championship when you're close, and then you rebuild and stock draft capital when you're not. And right now, there couldn't be farther away, and yet they're still trying to add expensive pieces.
And I mean, from the Wizards' perspective, a lot of people are talking about Beal could be on the move this year, right? Like he's trade bait for sure.
I mean, I don't really get the extension, but I still think he gets traded. I think it's crazy to not trade him.
If you're the Wizards and you're thinking, okay, maybe we get something for Beal. Maybe we get a great package for Beal, right?
Right.
He's making $27 million this year. He's slated to play this year and next year. So a team that gets him is going to get him for another year.
Well, now they're going to get him for another 3 because they extended him.
I don't know. 4, yeah. So he's got 5 years left now in his contract.
Yeah.
But now, if the team takes him on, instead of paying him $27 million over the next 2 years, now they're basically bumping it up $10 million a year with this new contract extension.
Right.
So it's going to be tougher for teams to give as big of a package because they're having to foot extra money if the Wizards do go down that route and try to trade him, which I think they should.
Yeah, so technically it seems like, right now I thought they were thinking, how are we going to trade Bradley Beal? How are we going to get the most for him? This move would make it seem like that's just not the plan. Because they've decreased the value of trading him.
Yeah, all in all, not a smart move from a Wizards fan here.
Yeah, but
not happy about the move.
As two Wizards supporters, we're pretty perplexed by the move. If there's any other Wizards fans out there that want to write in and give their rationale for how this one really makes a lot of sense to the team, we'd love to hear from you.
I want to give you a quote from the owner, Leonsis of the Wizards here. Okay? If we can bring John Wall back and with Brad develop our draft picks and assets, start to manage the salary cap, why can't this be quick? It doesn't need to be 5 years it took when we drafted John and Brad. We can turn this one faster.
I think he's crazy.
I think he's crazy.
I don't know.
I was never a huge fan of this. Sets me off the top. Are we boycotting the Wizards? This is ridiculous.
If John Wall is never got hurt and he's there and healthy today, you're still not a championship team yet. You still have to add pieces to that. And now you've lost that, and you're giving more money to Beal. I don't know. Yeah.
In a day and age where tanking is kind of a popular go-to to try to get a great draft pick, that's where the Wizards should be right now.
That's where the value is, yes. They should be trying to get more early picks from other teams,
Correct.
Trade Beal, and just build on. I mean, that's what these other teams, that's what OKC is doing.
Right,
and
OKC has a ton of picks.
Yeah, okay. I would say OKC's got the most right now. Right?
Yeah.
And
Miami, think about the Celtics, right? They got all those picks, and then they developed their players at the same time. So the Wizards could get rid of Beal, get a ton of picks. I don't think anybody's going after John Wall, which is why you have time to develop these players and take on a ton of draft picks and try to get them good. But the Celtics did it with guys like Tatum and Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, and they developed and they became...
They still are developing those players.
They are. And they still have draft picks. I mean, they were one of the top teams.
Well, now that comes to the turn of how this game works. It's like they've got those picks still. Now they can flip those picks to put them over the edge. If they can flip the Memphis pick they have, which is going to be a really good pick for a legitimate big, I can't think of anyone offhand right now, but for a legitimate big man, that's a pick that I thought could be going for Bradley Beal too. If they put another piece on you, they can compete with LA. If they've got another piece on top of those guys they have with adding Kemba.
Yeah, the Eastern Conference is tough because you have a team like the Wizards who's takeaway last year with injuries, but generally speaking, right around that 500 mark, 5 games above 500, they're looking at like the 8th through 6th seed potentially every single year. It's like we're getting into the playoffs. Can we take down the Raptors? And we're always win a game or two.
But it's the worst place to finish in the NBA.
Worst place. You're never going to contend.
First or last. That's where you want to be. Ricky Bobby, if you're not first or last, that's where you want to be.
So if you've got all your guys healthy and you're still kind of in that 6 to 8 zone, what are you doing?
The Buffalo Bills GM that was struggling for a while, he said he was stuck in the curse of mediocrity because they were finishing middle of the pack and they were drafting 17th of the year. And he's like, I'll never be able to draft an elite quarterback. This stinks. I'm stuck back here. They finally stunk enough to get up and get Josh Allen. But yeah, I think when we're looking at drafts in multiple sports, it's best to be, you want to be either winning and drafting last, or you tanking as a strategy in being a GM, I think.
Right. Well, with the new lottery system, it makes it a little bit tougher.
Helps. Yeah, I like that because I don't want to say I support tanking, but if I'm an NFL GM making the right decisions, those top picks are the most valuable things in the NBA. I like that the system changed it to sort of discourage it more.
Yeah, I like it too. And it was surprising because I know you had your doubts. You thought it was rigged. You thought Knicks or Lakers were going to get the first pick.
I did.
Pelicans, out of nowhere, right? If you're going to rig it, that's not the team that's going to be getting the first pick. So interesting. It made me like it more.
They could be setting this thing up for the future, saying, it's not rigged now. It's not rigged. Pelicans got it. And then next couple of years, Knicks are getting all the picks.
Well, Knicks theoretically are going to be
bad enough to get the picks.
I mean, with the little upgrades they did, I don't think they're going to be worst team in the NBA. I think potentially Wizards might be on that list where they're
the Knicks. So we were giving the Knicks credit for making some smart moves earlier, and now we're saying they're doing the same thing as the Wizards. It's just bad teams seem to stay bad. It's just there's teams that are smart and there's teams that aren't.
Yeah. All right, moving on. Let's talk about NFL holdouts.
Yep.
So starting with the one in the Washington area. So Trent Williams didn't arrive for camp today.
Yep.
Didn't show up. Deciding to hold out. The holdouts in general, I mean, this early, talking about training camps, do they worry you? If you're a Redskins fan, are you worried that Trent Williams isn't there for your first day?
Yeah, for a guy like Trent Williams, who's a vet, who's who's been through camp, he probably doesn't need camp. So if you're a Redskins fan, I mean, as long as he's staying in shape on his own, if you're a Redskins fan, you're hoping that he's just not wanting to show up to camp. But he sounds pretty serious that he wants a new contract. And yeah, if I'm the Redskins going into the season, I'm terrified without him. He's one of the best left tackles in all of football, and you look at the depth chart behind him, and there's nothing there. And then you got a rookie that you're expecting to probably play at some point this season. You're feeding him to the wolves if you've got one of these backup left tackles out there, or you're moving Morgan Moses over to the left side and somewhere weaker on the right side. But it's not good. He's got a lot of leverage. Whatever he wants, I think I'd give it to him.
Right, and that's kind of where we're getting with. You got all these players in general. I think this is across all sports right now. We're seeing a lot of contract negotiations and players starting to demand things where we hadn't really seen that in the past. I mean, you think about Le'Veon Bell last year, classic example. Everybody said, "Oh, he's going to come back. He has to come back. He's going to have to." The Steelers.
The running back situation is completely different because their value as a running back is literally in their mid-20s. It's early in their rookie contract is when they are almost the most valuable. The tail end of their first after rookie contract, they're already on the decline. So it's smart for if any of these guys, I would be holding out. If I was a good NFL running back and going in the last year of my contract, I'd be holding out just in case I get hurt. It's a smart financial move. Le'Veon, I think, made a mistake is he actually had a better contract from the Steelers and didn't like it. So they mismanaged his value a little bit. But I think sitting out for a year doesn't hurt him that much. And now he's got his money and he didn't get hurt. I think it's unfair. But we look at who else we holding out here? Clowney is another holdout we're looking at, and they're tagging him, but they're tagging him as an outside linebacker as opposed to a defensive end where he would have gotten paid more money.
Right, and I think that's kind of messed up, where he's played the majority of his snaps where it's a defensive end.
How do they factor? How do they just get to pick what they want to tag? I remember Jimmy Graham had the same thing one year. He was getting tagged as a tight end, and he wanted to be tagged as a wide receiver, and he lined up as a wide receiver just as much as he did at tight end. But it's funny when you look at different defenses, they've got to find a way to figure this out because he plays edge linebacker in a 3-4 base defense. That's the same as a 4-3, not the same, but it's the same value as a 4-3 D end. So it's almost like the positions it's not done in a fair way.
Yeah, I agree. I think he has every right to be upset, and I don't think anybody in Houston's.
I don't even think he's that upset. He just knows that he hasn't been healthy for a lot of his career. He's still a great talent, and it's just like, why play for this small amount of money this year and miss my big contract if my knee goes out?
Right.
Which I think with him, the reason if you don't pay him is that you're worried that his knee might go out.
Yeah, I think like you said, he's got leverage. He's one of the best pass rushers out there right now.
Yeah.
They need him.
Yeah.
Him and Watt, that's your team.
It's unstoppable.
And now you've got Watson. I know Hopkins dealing with a little bit of an injury issue right now.
Yeah, what's he got, a hammy?
Yeah, I don't think it's anything too serious, but I do remember reading something about Hopkins.
From a fantasy standpoint, if you're noticing that guys are out of camp with injuries and they don't seem like a big deal, still put those guys to the bottom of your tier. So, like, if I'm drafting and Hopkins hasn't played this week, precautionary hamstring, I'm still going to take Devontae Adams and Julio Jones ahead of him now.
Yeah, so Hopkins had, looks like shoulder surgery.
Oh, that's right. He did have off-season shoulder surgery. So they're probably just, it's probably very precautionary. I'm sure it's nothing major. But you monitor it going into camp. You want to make sure he should be playing in at least a third preseason game.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, like you're saying, the players seem to have more leverage, definitely at certain positions. You were saying, running backs don't have as much leverage.
They have no leverage because there's not a great value to drafting. You can just fill them back in. Like we were saying in the last cast with Lamar, are they going to start doing at quarterback what teams are doing at running back? It's just like you use and abuse him on the rookie contract, let him go, and you take someone else in the third round next year. Damian Harris, Patriots taking him in the third round. He's going to be a great running back. You throw darts and you hope you get a good one in the mid rounds. You don't have to go and get a first round running back anymore. There's a lot of great running backs that come out of the middle rounds, or Philip Lindsay last year undrafted. So it doesn't make sense to pay. If I'm the Chargers, it doesn't make sense to pay Melvin Gordon when I'm like, well, I'll just grab Philip Lindsay next year, and it's that much more. It's not that they're being malicious about it. It's just they want to use that money on the positions that are most important to winning football games, which are quarterback pass rush, defensive end, protect pass rush, left tackle, block receivers from getting open, cornerback. Running back is just they don't protect the running backs like they protect the quarterbacks, so they're injury risks and they don't play as long.
Yeah, the other big holdout is Yannick Ngakoue from the Jaguars.
Yeah.
So he's 3 seasons with the Jags, 29.5 sacks. He's been
He's been a phenomenal football player. Is that a Maryland guy? Do you know?
Ngakoue?
Yeah, is he Maryland? Is it saying there? We can look at it later.
Yeah, I don't think he is. Actually.
I thought he was a Maryland guy. I mean that's if they want to pay him, they're gonna have to go for his. He's worth it because that's a passer.
Yeah.
Terp.
Yeah, it's a Terp. Represent the Terps.
Well, if we're doing a holdout situation with a Terp, I don't think it's a good thing to put a Terp in a corner.
That's right. The only animal that cannot move backwards.
So yeah, I don't know if you want to not paying the man. Don't put a Terp in the corner.
Don't put a Terp in the corner, and then we don't have to go there.
Yeah,
There's a lot of controversy in Maryland with the off-season training. So maybe he sees that and says, "I'm going to hold out until the real games."
So Williams, I think it's the Redskins are in big trouble if he doesn't play for them this year. But as far as a learning the offense standpoint or something like that, I don't think if he can jump in the last week of training camp, and as long as he's in shape, I think he can come in and still be an elite player.
Yeah, sounds good. Let's have some fun. Do some Mount Rushmores. I'll take the Ravens.
Okay.
You take the Patriots.
Yep.
So you got four heads to put out there.
Tough. There's been a lot of good Patriots.
Mine was pretty easy. There's about 4 good all-time Ravens.
Who you got?
So the greatest of all time has got to be Ray Lewis.
For sure.
1,562 tackles,
You can
31
argue
interceptions, 3 touchdowns.
Argue greatest middle linebacker of all time?
Yeah.
I think he is.
Yeah, I'd put him up there. The other guy that's pretty obvious would be Ed Reed.
Could argue greatest safety of all time. Hard to argue.
61 interceptions, 7 touchdowns over his career. That's pretty good. Then it gets a little bit tricky. I mean, Terrell Suggs, 132 sacks. He's had a long career with the Ravens. Definitely deserves to be on there.
I agree.
And then the fourth one gets tough. Do you go Jamal Lewis with the running backs? You can't have one for me without Joe Flacco.
If he didn't have the Super Bowl, I wouldn't think you could put him on there. He brought the Super Bowl to Baltimore.
Right. And he's got more of that appeal than Trent Dilfer, you know? So it was all Flacco in that postseason run. I think, 12 touchdowns and interceptions?
Yeah, it was a small portion of his career that was fantastic, but I guess you throw him on there.
You got to throw him on there, yeah.
Okay, so my Mount Rushmore went a little different angle, and it was tough for me because there's been a lot of great Patriots throughout the time, but Tom Brady's the easy one, obviously. Greatest quarterback who's ever lived. Bill Belichick, greatest coach who's ever lived. Robert Kraft, greatest owner who's ever lived. Really, the Patriots were not good until he bought the team. He turned them around almost right away. And the fourth one was a tough one for me. With so many good defensive players on those Oprah Super Bowl teams. You've got the Hall of Famer John Hanna, maybe one of the greatest guards ever. Andre Tippett. I went with another greatest at his position. It's a little bit more of a campy pick, but I love him. I put my last one on there. I put Gronk, greatest tight end who's ever played.
Even with the career-ending, not career-ending,
short career?
Shortened career, yeah.
You take away from Barry Sanders because he retired when he was 29? No.
So on this,
and
Mount
we don't know if he's completely retired forever yet either.
On this Mount Rushmore, do you have little binoculars for all these guys, little Spygate action?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
It's the Patriot way, I guess.
Yeah. I want to go on record that your Mount Rushmore makes me sick.
What?
Having Kraft and Belichick.
What's wrong with that?
That's a cop out. That's terrible.
I mean, if I'm going to throw Hannah on there or Tippett or Teddy Bruschi's one I wanted to put on there just because he's so lovable as a player. But I mean, he didn't impact the franchise the way that those guys did. He impacted those Super Bowl wins.
We said Randy Moss at the receiving record touchdowns.
He did. It's just when you compare.
I don't think of him as a Patriot.
That's right.
I think of him as a Viking.
Agreed. So that's the reason I wouldn't put him on there. Is because it was just a short career. You can't say he doesn't feel quite like his Hall of Fame plaque should be a picture of a Patriot. Should be a Viking, I think.
Yeah. All right. So you didn't have no defensive guys on your team.
I didn't, but I also had 2 non-football players, so it didn't leave a lot. The Gronk one I was flip-flopping. I was gonna almost go Tippett, but I like Gronk. We went greatest at his position of all time.
He went out on kind of a down year.
He won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, no thanks to him.
So I think he was losing a step, and you see it as a down year. But like a guy who's watching the Patriots every game, so he's always been a great blocker. He actually really stepped it up this year as a blocker, maybe knowing he just wasn't able to contribute as much in the passing game. But just a guy who was able to completely change a defense and dominate on offense and still grind in the trenches. Most tight ends that are great receivers are not grinding in the trenches like Gronk did.
Yeah, underrated.
Yeah. First ballot.
But he's on your Mount Rushmore.
First ballot. No, not underrated by me, but underrated by some.
Yeah. All right, so let's go over the greatest fantasy football team of all time.
Pulled it up. So quarterback, Peyton Manning in the 2013 season, 55 touchdown passes, 5,200 yards, both NFL records, I think.
Going back to your Mount Rushmore, Tom Brady, you kind of got away with saying clearly the greatest of all time. Objectively, I think I could make an argument that Peyton's right up there with him. There's a debate to be made, that's all I'm saying.
There's no debate. Fans, everybody, just please write into Will and explain what a GOAT is. 6 Super Bowl. Six. He's not done. You're crazy. So Peyton had the best fantasy season. Tom probably had the second best one in 2007. 13 is when Manning broke his touchdown record. But Tom's great for other reasons than just throwing touchdowns. He's a field general. It's more than
good at QB sneaks. I'll give him that. He's good at getting 1 yard QB sneaks.
I don't think has he ever been stopped on a QB? I think he's at like 103 for 103 in QB sneaks for his career.
To be fair, I mean the refs give him an extra half yard every single play regardless.
Wow, the refs don't like Tom. I thought you said everyone disliked Tom.
I dislike Tom. People praise Tom.
He's the GOAT. Peyton at quarterback for our all-time fantasy team. Running backs, I've got LaDainian Tomlinson in the 2006 season, 27.8 points per game, and Marshall Faulk in 2000 with 25.9. Running back in our flex is Priest Holmes from 2003. He went for 25.6 points per game. 2 wide receivers, Jerry Rice, 1995. That was his 22 touchdown season. And then Randy Moss broke that record in 2007 with the 23 touchdown season. Those are the receivers. Tight end, I'll go with, I won't change on this one, I'll go with the greatest tight end of all time, Gronkowski. Tony Gonzalez, because the career was long, I'll say you find there, you can't make an argument for Peyton against Tom. You can make an argument for Tony against Gronk because how long he did it for. But in this 2011 season when Gronk had the 18 touchdowns, that was far more dominant than any single season Tony Gonzalez had. So I'll give you space. Argument there, but I'll stick with Gronk. Defense, 85 Bears, 54 turnovers this year. I mean, in 85, everyone agrees that's also the greatest defense of all time. Well, no, you got some Raven ones in there. You might argue against me. I like a lot of those Ravens ones, but I think most people 85 Bears, and fantasy wise, it panned out too.
Yeah. Ravens were consistent. It's like year after year
for a long time.
Yeah.
You get Ray Lewis and Ed Reed together for a long time, and they're going to have a lot of good years.
Yeah. No, that sounds great team. But just out of curiosity, do you know how much Mahomes averaged last year? Points per game?
So he was at. I can't think. It would be probably 5 points less than this because he's about.
It's like mid-20s.
He's at about. He almost about 500 less yards and about 6 or 7 less touchdowns. So we can look it up and let you know.
Yeah. All right. So email us questions. Will and Marks hso@gmail.com.
Send the questions in. Questions can be on anything. We're doing a lot of fantasy football right now because it's that season, but you got life problems, you got physical therapy problems, you got sports problems. Send them in. We're here to give us your opinion, and you can just send in feedback too.
Right. We also have a Facebook page, so become a member of our page. You can comment on episodes. We'll be posting episodes on there. You can comment on each episode. We'll be posting just some fun facts and little tidbits each week. And then we also have a Twitter and an Instagram, so subscribe, follow us, and we're looking forward to hearing from you.
All right, over and out.